John knows before he asks. Now, Obama is going to be asked about the manosphere, and Michelle Obama is going to be bringing that up in regards to how young black boys are focusing more on themselves and not really being hoodwinked and tricked into being emasculated, which society is trying to push. I do believe there's pros and cons to the manosphere in its entirety, but there are good aspects of it because it can definitely help young men come into their own, be financially stable instead of chasing after women and think that's the only meaning of life. Even the Bible says, "Do not stumble after a woman's beauty." So, but let's look into what he has to say.
Holmes is this series, Forever, which is a beautiful story of young love in a black neighborhood, and it is not traumatic, and bad things don't happen.
It's just regular kids.
It's just regular kids, right, that reflects all of our lives in real ways. And I know you watched some of that, and Barack, you are well aware of it. But you know, the show has created a lot of conversation in terms of how do you raise emotionally intelligent boys and what we get right and what we get wrong. Not just among boys, but kids in general.
We watched it as a family. We watched the whole series as a family and enjoyed it a lot. It was really fun to hear the boys talk about, oh, you guys would have done that, or you guys wouldn't have done that. That was eye-opening as a parent. You know, because
they're evaluating you.
They're evaluating.
They've got the little checklist.
They're evaluating our parenting, or they're evaluating their parenting based on their own.
That's the crazy. That's the crazy thing Dad would do.
He was going to say some crazy shit.
And but this brings me back to Emma. Emma's trying to raise these boys, and so she's trying to be somewhere between Forever and then the other show that people are talking about, Adolescence, which I haven't watched yet, which it gets into sort of the misogyny that young boys are exposed to,
and the online, you know,
the manosphere.
They're getting their parenting.
They're getting their
online.
parenting.
They're getting their notions of manhood from extreme.
Well, you got to understand, there's a lot of Black boys growing up in single mother households, which does create statistically a lot of degeneracy. You can tell by the crime rates based off of facts that boys growing up in single mother households do have a higher chance of being incarcerated. That is real. To avoid those facts is to be disdainful and to be biased. And it doesn't show that you're able to pick up your cross and be an individual to have conviction and learn, you know, from others' mistakes rather than having to allow yourself to fall victim to those things. But the manosphere, like I said, it has some pros and cons to it. I don't think it should be a particular thing. I just think they need to follow spirituality and truth and what God has in stores. And a lot of those aspects actually come from the Bible. When he said, don't stumble after a woman's beauty, where pick up your cross daily. You should seek the kingdom first. If you were to go out in the world, whatever, a man should leave his mother and father, it's like a woman should leave his mother and father. It should become one flesh with his wife. Only one wife. But these people are here perverting the word and switching it up. And a lot of these manospheres about just sleeping with women. I really don't approve of that. I approve of men actually getting married, having a family, but choosing a good woman with discernment. The same way a woman should choose a man with discernment, not just randomly picking individuals having a situationship. The culture is pushing casual relationships, which is completely and utterly wrong. You're building soul ties, spreading diseases. That's why there's an influx of so many different diseases out there because people are careless and only care about their flesh.
Extremists.
Extremists.
Well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Because let's go back to the original question. All right. Emma's trying to figure out how to raise boys. I think we did a pretty good job of raising our girls. But I've said often that I think I would have had more difficulty raising a son.
I agree.
Because I think I might have been more judgmental, harder, and I would have tried to. I like to think I would have been more self-aware enough to combat that. But I just think father-son relationships, for me particularly, if I don't have a dad around to show it to me, it might have been more difficult. So talk about, Craig, just how you thought about it. Was it just you took what your dad had done and you said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try the same thing.
Or were there things
did
you
it
didn't
change
wanna
over
do?
time?
It was a little bit of everything, but what you're both saying. Initially, I thought, okay, I'm going to take what I learned from Dad, all the things that I thought were positive, and then the couple of things that I thought were negative, I was going to try and repurpose.
Right.
What were some of the positives?
Well, it's just kind of the stuff that I named before. The willingness to get up and go to work every day, taking me with him to see what it was like to have male relationships, either at work, at the barbershop. He didn't go to the gym, but in
Barbershop, no offense, but he looks completely effeminate in nature. And I'm not even trying to really go that far, but he does look completely utterly effeminate. See. And I'm not really trying to be funny, but he does look. Let me see. He said what mothers raising sons need to know. Let's see. Beyond sports. Broaden boys' interest, helping boys access emotion, help their future for young men. Let me see what he's saying. It's like a lot of signal. There's a lot of this is signaled around like men, like young boys. I mean, growing up. Let's see. I just want to hear what Obama got to say. I know it's gonna be like oh crap! I done went the wrong way. Do that again. What the hell? Okay, what the hell? All right, let's see. Kindness, emotional growth. Let me see.
Being a man and being a protector was the little things. Getting somebody's chair, opening a door, helping, standing up if you're on the bus, and giving your seat to somebody else, right? A lot of the basic things that also just had to do with being thoughtful, right? This was like
being kind.
I mean, this was male expressions of kindness and consideration.
It used to be called common courtesy.
Common courtesy.
Can I ask, because as you guys are talking about these characteristics and traits, again, a lot of it is how to behave, the external part of you. But I think what I hear that gets missed, and it was missed in you guys growing up in definitions of manhood, was the internal self.
Yes.
Right? Because all the stoicism is external. Manners, common courtesy, it's all external. Protecting, it's all outward. It's like, how do you appear? I don't want you to get arrested, so you have to behave in a certain way. I want you to be polite because I want you to be safe, right? And there's not a lot of conversation at this table about, well, how do you feel? And how are boys being taught to help sort through their internal selves? I mean, it's almost like you're supposed to pretend like you don't.
Now, think about this for a moment. Obama talked about how the manosphere is extremist, right? But a lot of the manosphere, like I said, not all, do it, but there are some that do focus a lot on how you feel innately. A lot of the feelings that men have inside and what they're dealing with, what we deal with on a consistent basis, is being explored and expressed more through the manosphere. Like I say, you do got some unhealthy manosphere situation. I'm talking about the healthy ones. The healthy ones are literally helping men around the world be able to understand their temperament, their emotions, their behavior patterns, way more how to deal in society and how to propel yourself into a higher position rather than be stuck in the same cycle and feeling emasculated, because the world is leaning towards femininity more, and it's making seem like masculinity is somehow toxic. Being masculine within itself is being toxic to people, which is crazy work.
Have an internal self, an internal emotion of hurt or fear, or all the things that are natural of any human.
Was just being intentional with your friendships, making the investment, knowing it's important, letting them know they're important to you, your friends, small gestures.
I mean, this is a lot of this stuff is not focusing on, nothing to me.
Understand themselves well enough that they can navigate this really complicated world and setting high expectations. So there are a lot of these things that apply to boys and girls. I do think that there are some particular issues with boys that as a society we're not addressing. I do think as a society we have to create more structures for boys and men to have guidance, rituals, frameworks, encouragement,
rituals.
To be able to meet a wide range of role models so that whatever their inclinations, they can see a path to success that isn't just sports or money, making a lot of money. And so that's on all of us together. What I would say to Emma would be, in your community, even if you have a wonderful male partner who's in the house, I think it still would be good to find assets in the community, people in the community, friends in your community, places of worship, community organizations, what have you, where there are a bunch of men who can be sort of elders to boys.
But what you're saying is what the manosphere, and like I said, not all manosphere, and there's a lot of toxic ones. But what he's saying is what the manosphere is doing. It's helping young men understand their value, helping men understand their value. So it's not an extreme, it's actually a good thing. But I think people don't want to touch on those very things because they think it's all something else. But like I said, I feel like Obama growing up without a father is just one of those situations. Let me see if he touched on anything here. I think I probably missed the point.
And the online,
the manosphere.
they're getting
I
their
touched on that already. So like I said before, I think Obama, number one, he legalized the LGBT community, so that wasn't really a big help. And talking about in community, you put more effort towards finding organizations and what, like he said, cults, basically, rituals for those type individuals rather than for his own community, or not really his own community because he's African. And if you know anything about the Bible, you know the difference between Ham and Shem. But what I'm gonna say is that it's just not Shem, but Shem, Japheth, and Ham. Yeah, Shem and Ham, which is two different things. But I don't know. I just think that he's biased because he pushes for that type of feminism, and I think he likes it because obviously what's going on with his friend there, Michael. But let me know what you guys think in the comments, and I'm up out of there.